Run it back, nation. What is good? It is your boy DJ Swood. Run it back, Philly. No frauds, no fanboys, no intros. Algo gang, do your thing, man. Content creators, we give you free content every single day. It's totally free. All you gotta do, you might have to watch a couple ads, but all we ask is that you click the like button, man, to show your appreciation for the content. That's all we ask. You just hit the like button. That's all. I'll give you 500 likes on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. 30% of people that watch these videos are not subscribed. That's fraudulent behavior. This is the No Fraud Zone. Hit the notification bell. If your notifications aren't working, go in there, turn it off, turn it back on. YouTube's weird sometimes. All right? That's all I got to say. Oh, yeah. James Harden had 17 assists last night. And, it's obvious who won the trade. So go get you a Who Won the Trade t-shirt. Link is in the description. And Steve Nash got fired last night because of Ben Simmons. So who won the trade? Who won the trade? Nah, he didn't really get fired. Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a couple of things. I want to start with James Harden and some fun facts about what he did last night, okay? First of all, if you show up in this outfit and drop 17 assists, nobody can say anything to you. You know, this guy, I don't know if that's a Halloween costume or that's a real outfit that he wears. But this guy dropped 17 assists on you. He can wear, whatever he wants. Russell Westbrook shows up in like some Prince Michael Jackson outfits and goes over 25. He can't wear whatever he wants. You gotta be playing good to be able to wear stuff like this, okay? That's where we're at with it. Now look, let's do some fun facts about James Harden last night. Then we're going to talk about the pace of the 76ers and how they can continue to ramp up the pace of play with Joel Embiid on the floor, and some quotes that Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, and Doc Rivers had about that specific topic via Keith Pompey. And then we're going to talk about Steve Nash getting fired because, another one bites the dust. Here you go. Look. James Harden last night, 23.7 rebounds, 17 assists. 17 assists. I didn't realize it, after the game. I did the post-game live, and I just didn't realize how crazy actually 17 assists in a game actually is. Anyway, it's his third 25-15 game with the Philadelphia 76ers. Only Wilt Chamberlain has more in franchise history with 6. So clearly, James Harden's going to have that record. He already has 3 of those games in... what did he play last year with the Sixers? A couple of months, and now the beginning of this season. I mean, it's ridiculous what he does with the basketball on the floor. It really is when you really look at the numbers and the fact that a 25-15 game and only Wilt Chamberlain has more and he only has 6. So James Harden is doing incredible things when you really look at the deep numbers. People get caught up in the scoring, and James had some comments on this too. People get caught up in the scoring and, he's not dropping 30 points a game. But he's doing some incredible things when you really look at the numbers. Players this season with 150 points, 50 rebounds, and 50 assists. There's only 3 of them. It's Luka Doncic, Pascal Siakam, and James Harden. So, I shout out to Siakam, by the way. I know he's good at sharing the ball, but for him to have 150 points, 50 rebounds, and 50 assists at basically small ball center, that's impressive. So I don't really think people talk about Siakam enough in the sense of you would think Nikola Jokic would be on this list, by the way. Where's Nikola Jokic at, huh? Where's the back-to-back MVP at on this list? Shouldn't he have 150 points, 50 rebounds, and 50 assists on the season? Shouldn't he? So yeah, Siakam, Luka, and James Harden. And James Harden's comments on his assist numbers. Following Monday's game, Harden, who also had 23 points and 2 steals, talked about what it meant to pass Marbury and Archibald on the assist list. He said, "For me, I just keep pushing. I just keep trying to make my teammates better, play the right way, and good things happen." And I said that last night. I really just think that's what he does. He wants to be able to affect the game with his scoring when the team needs it. He's not really trying to be Houston Harden. He's not trying to be a ball-dominant ISO scorer. He's really, really trying to – he really has a point guard mindset. He's really trying to get the best out of everybody and get the best out of the team. And I think that's just absolutely great to have. And over the course of his career, I don't think he's gotten enough credit as a pass-first player because of what he did in Houston. When you saw him go to Brooklyn, he kind of transitioned into that role because he had scorers around him. And you can just tell he really, really enjoys facilitating, controlling the game from the top of the key, running the point guard position, and he's very, 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 very good at it. He's very good at it. So, we won the trade, clearly. James also said this. So as much as I get credit for the scoring, which people were saying, oh, yeah, you're not averaging 30, it's not about that. I'm impacting games in so many different ways that I'm satisfied. It's not a lot of people that can really do that, so it makes me happy. That reminded me of somebody that we used to have on this squad that used to try to argue this point. I affect the game in different ways. I don't have to score. No, you have to be able to score when we need you to score. You affecting the game in all these different ways actually doesn't work if you're not a threat to score. So we finally have a point guard, and just so happens to be one of the best in the history of the game, who can affect the game with his facilitating and his ball handling abilities, but is also such a threat to score that the defense continues to pay attention to him. I said it last night on Twitter. Say what you want about James Harden, but he's 33 years old and he's being double-teamed outside the three-point line. Double-teamed! The Washington Wizards were bringing double teams to him outside the three-point line. When somebody who can facilitate and do the things that he does at this level is also such a scoring threat that he's being double-teamed outside the three-point line, yeah, that's the combination. That's the combination that's insanely valuable to a basketball team, not the other one. With 15 points and 6 assists in the first quarter, Harden accounted for 29 of the Sixers' first 30 points in the first quarter. He's now second in the league in assists this season at 10.0 per game. And I remember when 7-8 assists per game led the entire NBA for a whole season. That was a crazy stat, you know what I mean? To average 10 is actually crazy. I remember it used to be like if somebody got 10 assists, that was a lot. This guy's averaging 10 assists. Yeah, so, shout out to James Harden. And clearly, we won the trade. Now let's talk about something else, okay? The Sixers' pace. I just went and got a couple of numbers because, and I'm going to admit that I was talking about their pace with Joel Embiid on the floor versus with Joel Embiid off the floor. And it kind of seemed like, we're running a faster game when Joel Embiid's not in the game. But when you really look at the deep numbers, that's not necessarily the case. This really all comes back to strategy, usage percentage, and just straight up how you're playing the game. And the Sixers started out the season playing the game the entirely wrong way. And that's 100% on coaching. But they have adjusted. And a couple comments from Doc Rivers yesterday basically said that, it was a collective adjustment from the staff. So is Doc Rivers actually listening to his coaching staff for the first time in his career? Maybe that's happening. And if that's happening, that's a good thing for us. Okay? I'm just going to go there. But anyway, here's the 76ers pace numbers. And by the way, pace is calculated by basically points per 100 possessions. So if you're running a slow-paced game, you're going to be low as far as points per 100 possessions. And, fast-paced teams are well above 100 in the pace category. We still need to improve our pace and our three-point shot attempts per game to compete with the rest of the NBA. The better teams in the NBA, they're going to run and gun you. But let's just go down it. The Celtics game, first game of the season, our pace was a 97. The Bucks game, our pace was a 95. The Spurs game, our pace was a 94. Loss. That's a terrible pace for an NBA team in 2022. And again, I was kind of insinuating that, we run a faster game without Joel Embiid, but you're going to see through these numbers that we can run a faster game with Joel Embiid on the floor, and that should make you feel good about the style of play that I feel like we've been playing the past couple of games when we actually, started coming away with some wins. The Pacers game, we actually had a terrible pace at 93 also, but the Pacers are terrible and, couldn't stop anybody, so we won that game. The Toronto game won when they beat our asses left and right. Our pace was a 93.5. Now, the Toronto Raptors are a very good defensive team, very athletic, so you're generally, I think, going to have a slower pace against Toronto anyway. James Harden didn't look very good in either of those games. They're very good at slowing him down, frustrating him, making him kind of try to foul bait and things like that, gets caught up in his old habits and things. The Toronto Raptors, I feel like you're always going to have a slower pace. So game one, we had 93.5. Game 2, Toronto, without Embiid, we were actually slower pace at 92.5, but Tyrese Maxey went off for 44 points, and the Toronto Raptors shot 38% from the field. So we played a much better perimeter defensive game, transition defensive game, and we had Tyrese Maxey go off for 44 points. So the pace didn't really affect our win-loss there, but that was a slow-paced game also. Again, I'm putting that on the fact that Toronto Raptors are a very good defensive team. The last 2 wins, Chicago with Joel Embiid, our pace was a 101.5. And just watching the highlights of that game, I made that comment that I felt like we weren't posting up Joel the whole game. We weren't forcing it to him on the block. He was just getting to his spots, playing within the offense, running the game through James Harden up top, pick and rolls, pick and pops, things like that. And Joel was getting a lot of points off of assists. And it seemed just by the eye test to be a very much quicker, fast-paced game, and now that I look at the numbers, it was a 101.5 with Joel Embiid on the floor. That should make us happy. And then the Wizards game, without Joel Embiid, we were a 99. So I don't think Embiid really, and Doc Rivers has a comment that exemplifies this. Doc Rivers said specifically, we do at times have a faster pace, he said. We did it the other night. We did it in the first quarter, and then we lost our pace. Joel had very little to do with that. We just got to sustain the play. So I think Doc Rivers is actually on the money right here with that quote, that we've played a faster pace with Joel. It's not about with or without Joel. It's about us just playing a faster pace in general. So that should make everybody feel good that I think we can run a faster-paced offense with Joel Embiid on the floor. So how do you keep up that pace? James Harden was asked, how do you keep up that pace? And he said, that's something we got to figure out. You know what I mean? That's something that we have to put together. You know, Joel, whenever he starts to feel better and gets back into the lineup, that's something we have to figure out, continue to communicate about, and try to find ways that he's involved, which is easy. James thinks that's easy because James is very good at passing the ball, obviously, in a pick and roll with him and Joel Embiid. Somebody told me to stop saying it yesterday. It's unstoppable. I'm not going to stop saying it. And then Tyrese Maxey had a quote that said that basically insinuated that defense is a major part of it, which I like this quote from Tyrese Maxey because I believe in defense and rebounding before anything in basketball. That's how you win games. You play defense, you rebound, the scoring is going to come. It's a make or miss league. You're going to shoot well or shoot poorly, but if you play defense and rebound, you have a chance in every single game that you play. And Jimmy Butler said that in the playoffs last year. Tyrese Maxey said the more steps we get, the more stops we get, the freer we can play, even with the big fella on the court. The big fella, he likes to play fast. He's willing to play fast, so that's not his problem at all. We just got to get stops. That's our biggest thing. Once we get stops, you can see in the Chicago game, we got stops early. So Tyrese is keeping it a buck right there, and he's saying it's not on Joel. He doesn't really make us play slower. It's us. We got to play better defense. We get stops, then we're on the other end of the floor faster, then we have a faster pace game. So shout out to Tyrese for that quote and him really, really understanding the game of basketball at 22 years old. I love him. Love him. Love him. Love him. Last thing here, the Brooklyn Nets fired Steve Nash. The Brooklyn Nets fired Steve Nash, and it's Ben Simmons' fault. It's Ben Simmons' fault. No, it's Steve Nash's fault, realistically. It's partially Ben Simmons' fault, but it's the handling of Ben Simmons by Steve Nash has been absolutely atrocious. I mean, did you watch him for 5 years in Philly? Did you watch how Doc Rivers handled him? Why did you come out and do the same thing that Doc Rivers did? You doubled down on it. No, he doesn't need to score. Didn't you see what he did? Didn't you see him bail and completely fold in the playoffs? You know, when are these coaches going to learn, man? Stop babying this dude. And on top of babying Ben Simmons, Steve Nash tried to play Ben Simmons, who refuses to shoot a basketball, alongside a center who doesn't shoot the basketball. So you got two non-shooters on the floor. An absolutely mind-numbing decision-making by Steve Nash. I would think an NBA coach, I would think an NBA Hall of Famer, I would think one of the best point guards of all time would understand the game a little bit better than to try to play Ben Simmons and Nicholas Claxton together. But he got canned. In his, second year in Brooklyn? And that kind of upsets me because, we signed Doc Rivers to a 5-year deal. Doc Rivers couldn't get canned because, he's top 15 coach of all time. He's a Hall of Famer. He's Doc Rivers. He's on the level of Greg Popovich. So Doc comes into Philly, babies Ben Simmons, argues with the media for a whole year. Ben flops in the playoffs again. It would have been nice to can him right out the gate, But, you can't do that with Doc Rivers, I guess. I'm still, hoping to see the day that he is gone. But again, if he's listening to his staff and they're actually making collective decisions, that's better for us because Doc being in dictator mode is not good for anybody. But anyway, yeah, the Nets fire Steve Nash. And really, Steve Nash has a winning record with the Brooklyn Nets overall. He's only gotten 64 total games of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant together. He only got 17 games of James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant last year, or 17 games of James Harden. I forget. But either way, he has a winning record. He really didn't even get to take advantage of his stars because they weren't playing last year. And then they make the trade for Ben Simmons, and everything goes south, and he gets fired. So really, the way that I see it, it's Ben Simmons' fault. And they played last night without Ben Simmons. Got a W. Looked a lot better. Looked a lot faster. Looked a lot more like a flowing NBA offense. Ben was out with a sore knee, which is funny. Kevin Durant had a sprained meniscus last season, missed 8 weeks. He's not out suddenly in Game 5 with sore knees. Kyrie Irving's had his share of injuries over his career. He's not out with sore knees. What's up with Ben? He gets the back surgery last year. Now he's sitting out games with sore knees. I would expect when he's supposed to come back to Philly on November 22nd, he will not be there. He won't be in the building. He'll make up something. It's going to be a sore knee. It's going to be something like that. But anyway, we should have hoped that they kept Steve Nash because he just kept trying to force that Claxton, Ben Simmons lineup, and it wasn't working. But they fired him, so it will be interesting to see what the next coach decides to do with the Nets lineup and Ben Simmons. At this point, you gotta just buy the guy out, man. You gotta just give him his $110 million, tell him to go be a Kardashian. Because he's an atrocious basketball player, and he's not helping anybody. But, the Brooklyn Nets' demise and implosion is my enjoyment. And Ben Simmons no longer being in a Philadelphia 76ers uniform and going and tearing down a different franchise is my enjoyment. And the Sixers won the trade. Run It Back Nation, you're the best. Y'all have a great day.